Hello and welcome to VLearn, Virtual Learning Network. This is session 34 of Administrative Theories, Accountability. Topics to be covered: Introduction, a concept of accountability, kinds of accountability, financial accountability, financial control within the executive, audit, financial committees of parliament, accountability through the court, accountability and ethics in administration. Introduction. So yes, in this session we will basically going to discuss about the accountability. This is one of the important part in the administration part, because if we talk about the authorities, if we talk about the responsibilities, that is all comes, and this is all related to the accountability also, or we can say that these things give rise to the accountability. That means in the administrative part, when there was many things to be done, and yes, at the same time the performer has to perform in a very correct manner, the accountability automatically generated. So if we talk about public accountability, distinguish public administration in the democracy from that in any autocratic setup. And autocrat is accountable to none. Public administrative authorities are on the other hand accountable to the people. That's very true. If we talk about the public accountability, it is all when the person is responsible, when the person is actually accountable to the public, to the people. Same as the public administration is not as much accountable for the same, but yes, public accountability is generating this kind of concept. Accountability, it was mainly used to imply the financial accountability. It is mainly discussed about the financial accountable and financial task of accountabilities. Now the concept of accountability. Accountability is a positive sense, means achieving the result. Public servant have tremendous responsibilities to discharge. To enable them to do so, they have stability of tenure and administrative supports. If they are unable to deliver the goods or achieve results, they must be held accountable. That's very true. If we talk about the accountability is considered as in a very positive sense, and it basically means that when you are putting certain kind of efforts to achieve the result, that is, the performer must take a responsibility to achieve the ultimate result of the performances. So public servants have tremendous responsibilities. They have n numbers of tasks to be performed, n number of responsibilities to be done, responsibilities to discharge the work. So just basically it is what to bringing out the very stability, bringing out the good stability in tenure and administrative support, in the proper working of the efforts, proper working of the concept. So this is what basically the accountability part. It is what related to make the people very much responsible to perform a certain kind of a task in a very better manner. So if they are unable to deliver the goods or achieve the result, they must be held accountable. This is always there. Like if they are unable to deliver the goods, or because the person is accountable to do a certain kind of work, so if it's unable to perform that, so automatically it's basically withdraws everything and lost everything. So in other words, if the administrator have responsibilities, they also have accountabilities. That is very true. If you are passing on any kind of responsibility in any kind of work, you have to pass on the accountability. You have to make the person accountable for the certain things. So responsibility and accountability is that kind of an activity which must be performed. So accountability and responsibility are two sides of a same coin, and they go together. Because if there was a responsibility and there was no accountability, So in that case, the person's responsibility is of no worth. But at the same time, there was no accountability, but there was no responsibility. So in that case, that accountability of no use. So in that case, it is always required to be go together or side by side. Now, what kinds of accountabilities are there? So in the parliamentary government, such as ours, and the political executive is collectively and continuously responsible to parliament. That is very true. It is what the political executive, the work, the responsibilities to the parliament is always required to perform into a very, very possible manner, bringing out the continuous responsibility. In other words, executive is obliged to give an account of its performance to the parliament. That's very true. It is what when the executive is taking the obligations, making itself a responsible to perform that task, to perform that parliamentary function. So parliamentary has a way and means to ensure this accountability. Parliament is basically a purpose to bringing out that kind of accountability. But there is also the permanent executive, the bureaucracy whose accountability is not direct but indirect. So it is accountable through the political executive to the parliament. That's very true. If your accountability is responsible, it's direct, it's legal, so in that case it is, or we can say that it's very much permanent, so it is required to be done. But at the same time, if it's not direct, it is indirect, so in that case it is that the issues or the working concept is to be raised. So there are certain matters which fall within his competencies, of which the minister is responsible in his personal capacities. The ministers are basically responsible or accountable, we can say, to the parliament for his action. Whatever action they take, whatever decisions they take, automatically that represents the parliamentary's work. Lack of them, as well as far all those of the civil servants under him. So in that case, this is all the actions which is affect them, so it is always required to be betterly performed. Parliament hold the minister responsible for anything that goes wrong in his ministry, even if he had no knowledge of it or did not approve of it. So in that case, Parliament basically holds the minister responsibility. That's very true. If a minister do something and then it affects the functioning or the role of the parliament, so in that case they are responsible, a whole parliament is responsible for the wrong decisions, for the wrong steps of the one particular minister. So in that case everybody is responsible in that case, that why it is happened. If the certain kind of issue arises, so that issue not just only affect the one area, one minister or one department, it affects the whole parliament. Whole parliament is answerable, whole parliament is responsible for this kind of wrong thing. Now financial accountability. In financial accountability, this is a vital component of accountability. It is based on the principle that those who spend public money should give an account of their action to those who bear the burden of taxation. And that's very true. Those who take the responsibility to bear or to do the certain kind of an action, it is always there that he is responsible for the public money also. They are basically given or sended money which are basically of a public money. So in that case, give an account of them, their actions, those who bear the burden of a taxation. So that is very true. In the general public, yes, public bear the pressure of a taxation. They always pay that taxation. They are very much, we can say that mandatory or compulsory to pay that taxations. So whatever money which rotates in the country like India, whatever the finance is provided just for the overall working of the task or the betterment of the task, it's all come from the public. So this is all whose money? Public money is this. So the legislator exercises control over the executive on behalf of the taxpayer. So legislator always exercise this kind of control. Legislator always work in this kind of control, just to make them on the behalf of the taxpayer. So this is always there. That kind of control is always required by the government on the ministers, on the activities of the government, just because they are able to utilize that money which is actually come from the public side. So financial control within the executive, yes, which are we can say that controllable. The legislator sees this as responsible for the executive, because the legislature make the grants of the government as in a whole. So that is why the legislature see this as a responsibility, and it is considered as a grant of the government. The machinery of executive control over the expenditure consists of finance ministers and their equivalent and the heads of administrative departments. So these all actually comes into the financial control within the executive. This is all financial working of the executives. That all is whatever the finance ministry or the equivalents are done, whatever the heads of administrative departments perform. This is all what within the control of the government. This is all machineries and mechanisms to solve that financial controls. Audit. Audit is one of the activity which are used to control the financial accountability or taken part on the accountability, financial accountability. So in that case, yes, audit is what account keeping is generally a function of executive authorities. Auditing is done by an independent agency. We can say that in India, both the functions are combined and handled, but comptrollers and auditors general, it means that the auditor agencies audit the account kept by itself. That is very true. Auditing is one of the basic activity which is taken as in a control mechanism. In that case, yes, they are responsible for overall functioning or the activities of transaction done by the different companies or different agencies, ministers. So in that case, the audit agency basically audit the accounts, audit all the factors of the ministers. They are highly objectivable, and yes, at the same time, legislature of the British rule, when the legislature had no control over the finance and the executive was all powerful. So that is what another thing, that is, it is what's very much of the, according to the British rule, whatever the rules we follow, it is all the transactions of the British activities, and they are towards the over financing. They are executives and powerful executives. So it is controlled by the independent agencies, and yes, both the functions are combined and handled by the complier and the auditor general. So these are the main complier and auditor general as the party who basically take the responsibility of audit. Now, financial committees of parliament. The important judicial remedies are basically there. So there are following remedies which are used in the financial committees of parliament. First is what the judicial review of the administrative act and decisions. The power of a court to hold any law or executive order unconstitutionally on the ground that it is in the conflict with the constitution. There are great variations in the pattern of the judicial reviews from the country to country. So the first remedy is the judicial review of administrative act and decisions. What kind of an act was taken place, what kind of decisions was taken, is all the acts are to be followed in the very proper manner, is all the decisions are take place in a right manner, is the pattern of the judicial review is proper. We agree that pattern of the judicial order is always different from country to country, but again it is always required that judicial reviews of administrative act and decisions must be there. There must be a review, there must be a check on the proper working of the judicial reviews. It is always consist and always test that it is always related to the constitution, not to be the unconstitutional. Then the statutory appeal It is possible where the law itself provides that in a given type of administrative act or the decisions, the agreed party has a right to appeal to the court or to the higher administrative tribunal. So in that case, this is possible when it is what to give the rights to the administrative. It is what the statutory is one. They may agree or may not. So in that case, the agreed party or the following party has to write or yes, at the same time appeal to the court whatever the higher administrative tribunal was asking, whatever the higher tribunal was looking for, they have to consider or define that. At the same time, suits against the government by the private party in tort or contracts. Yes, it can be suit, that is this could be that private parties can have a contract with the government. So we can say that the tort is basically a wrongful action or injury for which a suit for the damage lies. So in that case, they can ask for any kind of damages or suit was occurred. Criminal suits by a private parties against a public officer, and the civil suit against a public officer for the damages. So if there were any kind of criminal suit, so that could be done by the public officer, and they can ask for that for the public officer. If there was civil suit, so in that case they have to ask for damages or they are coming to the contract part. Another is extraordinary remedy in the form of writs of various kinds. Yes, there are another extra remedies which are required. Accountability and ethics in the administration. Yes, this is the another one. That is undoubtedly a civil servant is accountable to the parliament through the ministers, but it has a daily work in the secretaries. He is accountable to his immediate superiors. Annual confidential reports are an important means of holding the official accountable. From time to time, review of a work is undertaken by the secretary or the ministry. It is through such reviews that field administration is held accountable to the ministry. That is very true. If we talk about how accountable is related to ethics, so it is very much related, because if we talk about accountabilities, yes, that's very obvious that they are related with the ethics part. Because if we are making the person accountable for the certain factors, so that accountability automatically lead the person towards the ethics part, ethics area. So it is what, but yes, at the same time, if we talk about the civil servants, so accountability is automatically in their hands. They have a different kind of different works to be performed, different actions to be performed, and they have to fulfill that kind of part. So in that case, in daily work, yes, secretary is accountable for the superiors. If we talk about the ministry part, so in that case, parliament is responsible. As we will already study in the previous slide also, that in that case, parliament is responsible. At the same time, daily life, like if employee do something wrong, so in that case, boss is responsible. So annual confidential report are an important mean to make the official accountable, to make them responsible for their work. Yes, from time to time, review of work is undertaken by the secretary or ministry. They are there to perform the different activities. They are there to perform the different work. But yes, at the same time, it is through such review, it is always required the review and the proper working of the secretaries and ministers. So in that case, the audit is always required, and yes, at the same time, which rise or we can say that the fear of an audit may rise the administrative part in the proper way, and at the same time it leads to the proper accountability. So that is why it is through such review that field administration is held accountable. They are required to be accountable, to be performed in a very varied manner, to held accountable to the ministry. So yes, there are few questions which you have to do it yourself. First is, why it is difficult to enforce accountability? Why accountability is required? It is enforces. Another is, Why is ethics important in the administrative accountability? Why ethics is always required in accountability? So you have to explain this. So this is all about for the today's session. We are winding up here. Thank you so much. Happy learning. We learn.